And look, I used a different method. I probably the method that I should have been using from the get go, but I'm using the bell icon for when I get ready to post a uh, video. I'm going to start using a post instead of the shorts, right? I mean, it's a little bit less work on me, and it gives me the opportunity to do more work with the podcast, right? In regards to um, making the podcast great again, as Donald Trump says, make America great again, make the podcast great again. And that is my intention to make my podcast one of the best in the business, as I constantly state. And I will get there. Let the record reflect that you heard that on the Boxer Strength Show that um, Jack Daniels had the compunction, the inclination to make this podcast um, one of the best in the business, right? I'm not going to go all out and say I am the best in the business and um, there's no other uh, to compete, right? No, I'm just going to say I'm going to do my job to the best that I can, right, to make this a favorable endeavor, right? So listen, this morning um, I was in research mode and I went to the internet. I get a lot of inspiration from, especially YouTube, the other podcasters, right? And I think that it's fair to say that we all lean on each other for content, to say the least, right? So this morning, I happened to pull up on Showbiz the Adult, and he got pulled up by none other than the great one. Who am I talking about? Anybody know who I'm talking about? I am talking about Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson pulled up on Showbiz the Adult, right? And I will say that it was some interesting content being discussed between the two, between Shakur Stevens and Showbiz the Adult, right? And it's like, me personally, I am one of the few content creators that constantly stays on Shakur Stevenson's head, right? Because it is my belief that, first of all, Shakur, in my opinion, has the skill set to be considered one of the best in the business, right? But as far as I'm concerned, has he demonstrated that to me? No, he hasn't, right? And I just don't want to think that I'm overly emphasizing on Shakur Stevenson's abilities, right? I just think that in certain areas of his expertise, right, they need some more training, right? Not just in the ring, his behavior, has sometimes has me on edge from the things that he says versus the things that he does, right? And I oftentimes mention the word cap when it comes to Shakur Stevenson because, contrary to the fact that Shakur Stevenson would want us to believe that he is one of the best boxers in the game to date, right? The fact of the matter is Shakur Stevenson hasn't really demonstrated that, right? There's a lot of excellent boxers in the game today that I think that Shakur Stevenson needs to fight before he can claim definitively that he's one of the best in the business. One that particularly comes to mind, first off, is Remy Martai. Remy Martai is the WBA lightweight champion of the world, right? And he is worthy of that collar, of that belt, right? So when I say to you that Shakur Stevenson needs to fight Raymond Moratia, right? There is a list of fighters, in my opinion, before I get to the meat of this, right? That Shakur Stevenson needs to fight before he can substantiate himself as being one of the best in the business, right? Now, he came on again, Showbiz this morning, and he was trying to basically holler at people like me that is constantly on his head when it comes to him making these assertive claims about he's the best and he'll fight anybody and things of that nature. Right now, you can't, in all fairness to Shakur, you can't say that to people like me who have a definitive compassion for the sport and not expect for me to say, Shakur, you've been called out by Devin Haney. You've been called out by Raymond Moataya. There is a litany of people that have called you out, and you've not made any of those fights. Now, had to consider in that thought process how we are looking at Shakur's resume. Does Shakur Stevenson have a um, good resume? Great resume? Which one is it? Good or great? Right? I would have to say that you can choose either one and you can fit him into those equations because Shakur Stevenson has um, fought some decent people, right? And Shakur Stevens is a four division world champion, right? Four different division world champion. You know what I'm saying? So, but here's the thing: when you talk about elite status, those that have ran through the fire to get to the point where their career is they are considered as elite boxers in their career, right? Shakur Stevenson hasn't got there yet, right? To me, the elitists have to have been in a situation where they have acquired, not desired, but have acquired undisputed status. Undisputed status, don't care what division it is, until you can acquire undisputed status, you cannot say that you should be fitted into a category of special boxers, right? If you haven't been able to grab the reins of undisputed. That is one of the front running things about being elite. You have to have been considered as undisputed. You have to have gone in there and took that position, right, of undisputed. You can't talk about it. You have to go in there and do that. Who brings who comes to mind? Let's say Torrance Bud Crawford, three times undisputed, three different divisions, right? How can he not be considered as an elite boxer? How can he not? You know what I mean? They would have us to believe that Vasily Lomachenko was an elite boxer, right? In some aspects, minus the fact he was never undisputed, right? There is enough room for us to say that uh, Vasily Lomachenko was uh, in one of those few that had excelled to the position of being um, I want to say I don't want to keep using the same word, right? But he excelled to the elite status. How about that? You know what I mean? But this is my position on boxing. After being in the sport for over 50 years, I think I'm entitled to make some type of choices in regards to the direction of boxing. And I say to the Shakur Stevensons that until you become undisputed, stop with the rhetoric about being the great, one of the great ones. You haven't got there yet. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to be as respectful as possible. I don't want to keep badgering Shakur Stevenson, right? Because contrary to the fact that he does have talent, right? He just hasn't got to a level with his talent that he should be that he can be considered as one of the great ones, right? The fact still remains the same. The kid can box. You know what I mean? I just think in certain instances that he just tighten up certain things to be considered as great. And one of those things the elite status is to get you one of those divisions and take it, become undisputed. You know what I'm saying? Shut the naysayers up. But until then, you kind of like need to, pump your brakes. I'm saying this as a result of the conversation you had with Showbiz the Adult, right? I like the things that you said, but there's room for critique. And that's what I'm doing. I'm critiquing, and this is what I do. You know what I mean? This is what boxing is about, right? To to address the issues that are necessary for the sport to evolve, to grow and develop. You know what I mean? So, and this is what I do. It's not something that I get overly excited and overly joyed about, right? Because sometimes you have to say things that might hurt people, right? But this is boxing, man. Boxing is one of those sports, man, that stands out above all the sports. Boxing is number one. You know what I mean? Up and until we get to the point where we honor boxing in that regard, right? That the best get treated like the best, right? Boxing is not going to be in the state of mind that people are going to run to it. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying, people loving the sport like I love it. Like Shakur says he loves it. You know what I'm saying? Shakur made some pretty good points this morning, right? Until he started talking about the catchweight thing, right? Now, I haven't really been around Shakur Stevenson to the point where I could visually say he's a small guy. Most people say Shakur is a small dude, right? But there's a lot of people say, and let me say this to counter that, right? When he fought Teofimo Lopez, he didn't look like a small guy to me. In fact, he looked the same uh, size as Teofimo Lopez, right? And contrary to the fact that this is one of the things that Shakur Stevens thrives on, is concerned about the weight factors, right? Now, here's the thing, Shakur. Great boxers don't give a dang about the weight. You know what I'm saying? When you sparring, preparing yourself for a fight, right? You get in the ring with different weight classes. You know what I'm saying? You do that to strengthen your body up to be able to withstand and endure people leaning on you, right? Dragging you down, making you go winded, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's why you work with bigger cats. You know what I'm saying? So I just, look, man, championship caliber boxing don't complain. They don't complain, man. And shouldn't I consider this as the type of subject matter that you are complaining about? Man, look, I'm trying to be the best I can be at what I do, right? You know what I'm saying? Discuss boxing, discuss you, Shakur Stevenson. You know what I'm saying? But you're making it difficult for me because you put me in a position where I'm having to think about backtracking from where I've previously been with you in boxing. With the capping. I say you cap a lot. I say you cap a lot. Until you prove otherwise, I gotta continue on with that, man. I think psychologically speaking, that this morning session that you had with Showbiz with adult with Showbiz adult, right? You was doing a lot of capping. You was doing a lot of capping. You said that um you'll fight anybody, right? 135, 140, 147, right? But the 147, you will get to there when your body says it's time to get there, right? But look, core dudes in the game that love the sport, that truly love the sport, they can't find the energy to say that what you said, right? The Devin Haney is said, "I'll fight anybody," which means there is no room to use weight. Devin Haney said he'll fight anybody. 147, 154. We're talking about a process with Devin Haney, right? Although he didn't say that, I'm having to, you know what I'm saying, make that issue for him, right? He said he'll fight anybody. To date, he's done that, man. Why don't you follow the footsteps of a great boxer, your partner, Devin the Dream Haney? Look, man, I just want to get on and share that with you guys. You know what I'm saying? To let you know that I try to be as fair as possible with all these boxes, man. You know what I mean? But sometimes people like Shakur Stevens makes different. I can't rebut. I can't go back over what I've said. Take it back. I ain't doing that. right? You, Shakur, have to demonstrate that you mean what you said, and that you mean what you said, and you say what you mean. Until then, man, I mean, it's on cracking, man. You do a lot of capping, you need to stop that. You know what I'm saying? The Raymond Martire, you need to fight Raymond Martire. The Devin Haney, you need to fight Devin Haney. Stop talking about the weight. Stop talking about the factors and fight these cats. You said you'd fight any of them. Let's start practicing what you preach. There is no room for compromise when you say something. You got to do it in boxing, especially for if you say it in front of me, right? Because I'm going to take issue, man. I'm going to take issue because this is what I do. You know, you're not going to disrespect the sport by capping, lying. You know what I'm saying? Making people believe one thing when you're practicing another. Stop capping. You want to be great. Be great. Struggle in your performance in the gym to be great. That's what you're convincing people that you are. That's what you need to start doing. Stand on business. Stand on your word. Right. That's the thing that I hate so much about you cats that come on with these errors. These, you know what I'm saying? I'm the baddest man on the planet. You know what I'm saying? I'll fight anybody, but you don't do that. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I'm gonna stay on your helmet. You know what I'm saying? You had me vacillating back and forth after this interview with Show Me the Dope. Nah, man, I ain't vacillating. You know what I'm saying? You need me. I don't need you, Shakur. You need me. You need to hear what I'm saying in hopes that you, sir, right, will stop capping and start making these big fights and start proving to the whole entire universe that you are who you are. That you say you're the greatest. Be the greatest by demonstrating. Right? Fight Devin Haney. Fight Raymond Martani. And fight Keyshawn Davis. It ain't no friendship in the sport of boxing. And to that degree, right? Sure, you can shake hands, hug each other, and do whatever you want to, outside the ring. But in the ring, there's no friendship. Fight Keyshawn Davis. Be who you say you are. Be great. You say you're great. Be great. Shout out to the chat. Bruce Gas, Boxing Jazz and more, my man. So now that I got that off my chest, and I feel way better because again, after watching that interview, you had me vacillating on whether I was going to come around to those terms and the things that you was. I'm not doing that, man. I'm not doing it. You need to stand up on your word. Stand on business. You know what I'm saying? Stand on what you said. You said you would fight Raymond Martire. You say you're in negotiation. Make that happen. Don't leave it up to Raymond Martire. Make it happen. That's what you need to start doing. Fighting somebody who is grasping to become great. Randy Marshall is grasping to be great. Fight Devin Haney. But see, here's the thing about that. I kind of don't blame you for capping. No, I do blame you for the capping because no man shouldn't have to lie. I don't think that you really want to fight Devin Haney because you know that Devin Haney is a bad mama jamma. You know what I'm saying? Contrary to the fact that sometimes I don't see eye to eye with the team, right? But the fact of the matter is Devin Haney is one of the best boxers on the planet. I'm quite sure that you really realize that. You hit it on that in the conversation this morning with your business adult that Devin Haney is a great boxer. Was that the word? Was it great or good? Which one was it, Shakur? I think he's great. Who is that? Shout out to Emmy. Emmy. And he said, I'm the best. I used to train Muhammad Ali. Used to train Muhammad Ali? Is that right? Is that correct, sir? You don't have to go through your profile now when I get off the air and see what you about, man. I'll see if you capping too. Shout out to the chat. Emmy, Emmy, MEZCS. For whatever that means. But yeah, I'm gonna check you out, brother. See what you talking about. Uh shout out to Sudeep. shout, shout out to my brother, Bruce gas, boxing jazz, and more. Right? And Bruce they sound like a troll to him. That's hilarious. Boxing is the thing. I mean, I don't know how. I don't know what I could do with it. I don't know what the hell I would do without boxing, man. I don't know about y'all, but I have such a, you know what I'm saying? I mean, 90% of my time is boxing, thinking, boxing, one way or the other. 90% of my thought process, I'm serious, is boxing. So when you hear me get on and talk about the Shakur Stevenson and that garbage, Bruce will laugh. Bruce had to laugh on that one. Yeah. So when you hear me get on and talk about like people like Shakur, right? I mean, I ain't got a choice in a minute, man. When you say something that's diametrically opposed to the sport of boxing, it's like, I mean, it's like you trying to get at me personally. That's the way I take it. You know what I'm saying? But it's fair to say that we're gonna leave room in this conversation today for Shakur Stevenson to come around, right? In fact, Shakur, why don't you come on and challenge me? You know what I'm saying? That would be a good thing. Like I'm not doing Instagram. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to get me on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? But and I really believe that half the stuff that you talking about is directed at me. You know what I mean? Because one thing for sure and two things for certain, I know some boxing. And y'all know I know some boxing, right? And Shakur Stevenson and the like, a lot of cats, you know what I'm saying, they ain't gonna say this, but they gravitate toward the things that I say. And that's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? You know, to keeping it real, that's a good thing. So that being said, look, man, I got to go out and do some work. So um we'll try to get back with some boxing today. Shout out to my brother, Bruce Gas Jazz, Bruce Gas, no, excuse me, Bruce Gas, Boxing Jazz, and more. 1969. That was the year for me as well. 69, man, was really when I really gravitated toward, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Okay. That being said, man, look, hit that subscription button, hit the like button, and the icon button. Hit that icon button because I'm switching up. I'm using pulses to announce when I'm dropping videos. You heard me? And make sure you hit that subscription button. Look, it's just the raising of the finger and hitting that button. Same thing with the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section and let me know if y'all think Shakur Stevens is really a great boxer. Hit that. Hey, Bruce, is Shakur a great boxer? Drop it in the comment section, buddy. Later.